Welcome back to the Old Soul, New Soul Astrology podcast. We have the goat, and now we have the sign of the goat. We're going to be talking about Saturn in Pisces for those of you who have Capricorn rising or Capricorn sun. Robert, I know you fit into that slot. Where are you? Which one?
I have Capricorn rising, and Saturn is in my third. And boy, is it.
Well, you ought to have some good notes for us then on this one.
True confessions.
Yeah, and a couple of personal anecdotes as well.
Yeah, Saturn in Pisces for Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun is in the third house position. Starting with routine habits. Saturn in Pisces in the third for Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun says pay attention to how you are using your time every day, because you need to get in touch with how much time you are wasting and translate that into constructive thinking and acting, especially just in routine issues. If you're spending a lot of time watching YouTube instead of getting things done, that's one habit you can drop. The third house has to do with all of the little details that add up to constructive living. And I do call Saturn the get real planet for a reason. In the third house, and this is going to be true all the way from now, it's been true for the last 6 months, but between now and the spring of 25, when Saturn goes into Aries, pay attention to all of the important details in your life. Bill payments. Stay on top of your credit and your credit rating. Stay on top of your routine habits. If you've got habits like smoking weed or drinking booze, look at how much time you're wasting with those things and take steps to drop them. If you are a worrier or a person that's got anxiety disorders or eating disorders, all these third house routine habits need to be examined for one thing: how much time are they wasting? Because you may be surprised at how much valuable time you're expending on things that aren't getting you anywhere, or in fact may be holding you back. Often Saturn in the third house will also indicate, of course, routine communications, and with Saturn in Pisces, this sign of compassion. Pisces is a double sign, so it can wind up in arguments and controversies and conflicts just routinely with shopkeepers or clerks or friends or relatives, all of the above. How much time are you wasting arguing over things with people who are never going to change their mind? And why are you even engaging in the time-consuming arguments to begin with? Are you getting anything out of them? Probably not. But if you're confronted with people who are hostile or angry or destructive, think about why they are behaving that way. What are they afraid of? Because those kinds of behaviors are protective behaviors on their part. You may be the same way. You may start arguments or find yourself getting engaged in them as a form of protecting yourself from looking at something that's true for you. So routine communications are stressed with this position. If people interrupt you all the time, it's a terrible habit, it's rude, but you may be doing it too. Think about that. You may be trying to overtalk people as a form of dominance, unconsciously, for example. And this idea of routine communications extends to things like keeping a journal, keeping a diary. It's a wonderful way to, at this time in your life, if you don't do it permanently, that's all right. But for this period between now and next spring, you might want to think about keeping a journal, and especially keeping a dream diary if you are one who's a conscious dreamer, and I am. Write down the dreams, no matter how silly or trivial they may be, and look at them. And you can begin to see patterns and sometimes even revelations coming in dreams. You will not remember them if you don't write them down and keep a journal. There may be people in your life, particularly siblings, third house, that you might need to be in contact with. You may be avoiding getting in contact with these people. They may be estranged siblings or other relatives, but particularly siblings. They may be going through their own issues, serious issues, and they could use some compassion, some reassurance, and some love from you. It may be hard for you to give it. And that's a lesson, too, that you can learn. Cost you nothing. To get past your own, whatever it was that's created maybe some estrangement between you and siblings, get past that. Get in touch with them, thinking of you. Hope all's well. I know it's been a long time. Get back in touch. Show a little Piscean compassion. It's not going to hurt you, and that may be a fear of your own. So there may be people in your life routinely like that you don't particularly like, that would be good for you to think about it. And then if you feel like it, realize it may be time for me to bridge that bridge again and restore some contact and show a little compassion and understanding for what they're going through. Another thing between now and the spring of 25, let's say, the third house rules transportation. So you may need to think about either maintaining your present vehicle, or if it's old enough, you may want to get a new vehicle, a new car, for example. It's a wonderful time, too, for people who understand feng shui to change their environments if their environment needs it. The placement of furniture, the placement of mirrors, the orientation of your home environment can become very important. So it's a wonderful time to clean out clutter. For example, if you have any hoarding tendencies, that too reflects a certain inner state, a psychological state. These things are all tied up. Eating disorders are another common thing with Saturn transiting through Pisces here. You may be underweight and need to improve your nutrition. You may be overweight. You may need to eliminate sugars. You may need to eliminate red meat and so on. So in the third house, Saturn is on the cadent axis in the chart, which has a lot to do with two things, work and health. The third house is opposite the ninth, and it squares the sixth and the 12th. So the Saturn transiting the third points you to your philosophy of life and your own vision of yourself, which is in transition while Saturn is in Pisces here. So there may be health habits and exercise habits that you need to take a look at. And also with Saturn transiting the third, stay in touch with your physician. Simply get regular checkups, that's all. So that if anything is going on, you catch it early rather than putting it off. And that's a classic symptom of Saturn and Pisces in the third. There are things that Capricorn rising or Capricorn suns know that they need to be doing to improve their health and their work life and their financial life and so on. But they don't do them. They think about doing them. They talk about doing them. They plan on doing it, but they keep shoving it down the road, kicking the can, and don't do it. And then they can get into trouble. So don't be afraid to just look life squarely in the face. If you're older and you don't have a living will, get one. It's time. If you need insurance of any kind, get it. It's part of the budget. It should be. So that's between now and the spring of 25 is a great time to clean out clutter in your way of thinking, your way of talking, and your way of acting, especially where all the little important details of life are concerned. And take a good look at yourself. Transiting Saturn in this third house position can sometimes create depression and worry and anxiety. Well, those are meant to get your attention. You're not depressed for no reason. There's a reason you're depressed. There's a reason why you're anxious. There's a reason why you may be panicked or hostile or withdrawn or isolating yourself, all of which can be accompanied by Saturn going through this third house. But it's the idea of not only communicating with other people, but communicating with yourself. Have a talk with yourself. Because again, Saturn in Pisces is a transitional sign. Your Saturn is moving toward the fourth house of new beginnings when Saturn goes into Aries for Capricorns. So this is a great time to reflect on how you've lived your life and what you've done and accomplished for the last 30 years, and build on that with something new and important and exciting that's coming into your life starting next spring. Another thing to remember about Saturn is organization. And in Pisces, it tends to be disorganized because it is a transitional sign. You are moving away from one way of thinking to a whole other way of thinking. But organization is primary with Saturn in Pisces. It's an excellent time for Capricorn or Capricorn rising to think about writing. If you've ever thought about writing anything, you don't have to think about becoming a best-selling author. But you may have a story idea, or you may want to begin writing about your family and ancestors, for example. And the process of writing and journaling can become a gateway to recreating a whole new life for yourself. If you're really a serious writer and want to be a writer and want to publish, this is an excellent time to do that. Build it into your organizational structure. So organization is primary with that. Organize your daily routine. Keep a calendar. I use Outlook all the time. I couldn't live without it. And I have Capricorn rising, and I've always relied on a schedule like that. And you can alter the schedule and revise it and change it and so on. But the idea of communications again, especially this kind of personal communication, it's also a wonderful time for other sorts of creativity with the third house associated with Pisces. So all of the arts, painting, drawing, photography, music, all of those things, especially with Pisces. Get into a group that is Tai Chi, for example, if you need to exercise. That's a great kind of exercise to start. You can do it at any age. Build it into your schedule. Go to a Tai Chi group every week, or more than every week if you wish. But get a handle on organizing your day and your week and your month so that you're not wasting time sitting on your behind doing nothing. Do something with it. It's a wonderful period between now and the spring of 25 to get in touch with your higher self, including your psychic guide, if you want to call it that. So the idea of reading and thinking and investigating and opening yourself up to the inner realities, the creative realities, as well as these routine day-to-day tasks that you have to complete. Those are the sorts of little, seemingly small details that will help you fulfill your inner dreams and ideas for yourself. So this can be a tremendously creative time, intellectually and mentally, as well as spiritually and even emotionally, through the arts particularly.
You know, it's amazing, as we've done 10 of these now, that we've come all the way around. We still have Aquarius and, of course, Pisces itself to do to wrap this up. We've covered so many aspects of our life here through these, and now we're talking about those little mundane things that we have to just stop and pay attention to.
You know, it's funny, Thomas. I know in the last, really since Saturn went into Pisces, for the first time in my life, I've got a cleaning service who comes in once a month. They're here for maybe 2 hours, and they clean my place thoroughly because I don't have the time. So I'm paying $1,200 a year for something that is saving me a ton of time because I won't do it myself. I'm too busy. But rather than let my environment get cluttered or dusty or disorganized, it's not. It always looks great. And so the outer environment in which you live, that routine environment, looks great. And it reflects the inner state, your inner mind as well. So those are the sorts of things with Saturn going through the third that you can think about, ways to streamline your life to allow your own creativity or your own desires, your ambitions, and so on, to occupy more of your time in a constructive way.
And, you know, I was thinking maybe we'll elaborate on this more when we close out the series in Pisces here in a couple more episodes. but that next is Aries, and there's you're getting all your little Saturnian little ticky-tackies out of the way so that you can launch pad into when we are feeling that energy to start new things, you're ready to go, and you're not looking back at all the stuff that you didn't finish up.
Yeah, exactly. They're in place and they're operative and they're running, and now you're free to spend all of that energy. Otherwise, I'd spend dusting and vacuuming on something creative, like writing these books. And I think the final thing is prioritization with Saturn in the third house. Prioritize everything, because on the negative side, people with transiting Saturn through the third in Pisces can waste a lot of time spinning their wheels in place and accomplishing nothing. So every time you start to do anything, fix a meal, sit down at the computer, visit friends, whatever it is, prioritize. Is this really that important? It's how much time is this going to take versus what could I be doing with this time that maybe is more important to me or more essential to me? That's the big key, I think, with Saturn in the third.
I love this little attention to details. This is really, really great stuff. And it's something that we would otherwise tend to put off. So this is a do it now reminder episode. Don't move on to the next Old Soul, New Soul podcast until you have taken care of all of your little third house routine things. All right, make a deal with yourself. I'll get them done, then we'll come back and listen to the next episode, which we hope you will do anyway, but just come clean, all right? Come with a clean slate. Thank you so much, Robert. Thank you for this, and thank you for listening. And we'll see you next time on the Old Soul, New Soul Astrology podcast with Robert Glasscock.